4 months after moving to Texas, Jessie Bradwell suddenly stopped answering calls from her family. The situation became even more worrying when she didn't wish her mother and stepmother a happy Mother's Day on May 8th. Investigation officers came across a piece of metal covering something, accompanied by an unbearable smell of decay nearby. As they approached, they found a female body wrapped in a blue sheet, covered with a blanket, and 2 red gold towels stained with blood, dental records of the presumed victim, 27-year-old Jessie Bardwell. Who was Jessie Bradwell? Why was she killed? Who was the culprit? This is your partner in crime stories. Subscribe, and let's move along this mysterious journey ahead. In Pascagoula, Mississippi, Jessie Bradwell was born on September 10th, 1988. Her parents, Gary and Carla Bardwell, were happy to welcome her. They also had a son named Brandon, who looked out for his little sister. Their grandma, Kitty, loved visiting them. She read them stories and made up fun games. Together, they laughed and played, creating special memories. As Jessie and Brandon grew up, they stayed close, supported by their loving family. Jessie was a happy and kind girl with her special style. She loved the idea of running her salon someday. But when she was 14, her parents, Gary and Carla, got divorced. Jessie decided to live with her dad, Gary, who worked as a firefighter. They had a close and trusting relationship. Jessie often called him to make sure he was okay while he was at work. After a while, Jessie's dad remarried. Surprisingly, Jessie and her stepmom, Gina, got along well. Gina was great at taking care of everyone at home. Jessie saw that her dad was happy with Gina around, which made her happy too. But Jessie knew she'd soon finish school and leave home. So, she decided to become independent. Jessie moved to Orange Beach, Alabama, to stand on her own feet. She got a job as a waitress at a busy restaurant by the beach named Cobalt. Gary, her dad, remembered how much she loved being near the water. It always brought her peace. They stayed in touch a lot, sending messages to each other. When Gary visited, they'd spend time boating and fishing together. Kimberly Ebery, Jessie's friend, and the restaurant manager found out that Gary Jessie's dad was a skilled musician. Gary focused more on his music passion after retiring from his current job. He got several invitations and also was a high demand for his performances. He was also invited to perform at Cobalt and had his table there. Kimberly, the restaurant manager, confessed she admired Jessie and her dad's bond. Their relationship was similar to genuine friendship. Jessie always supported her dad at his performances, using her tips to save for college and her dream. At work, she met Terry Ellis, a good-looking man, another waiter, and they began dating. Their relationship became strong and serious. They seemed like a perfect match and a stunning couple. But one day, during a social event, Jessie became interested in Terry's friend Jason Lowe. Her sudden crush surprised everyone, including Terry. It seemed like she was completely smitten with him, not noticing anything else around her. Jessie and Terry parted ways on good terms after she explained her feelings towards Jason. This decision completely changed her life, taking it in a completely different direction. Her new boyfriend, Jason, was very attractive and had a bright future. He had 2 degrees and a good job. Jason knew how to impress people and was always polite. For Jessie, these new feelings meant starting a whole new chapter in her life. When Jason heard about Jessie's dreams, he promised to help make them come true someday and take her to them. He needed to move to Dallas, Texas, for a new job in the technology industry. Jessie decided to follow him there. The job in Dallas offered Jason a good salary. Kimberly mentioned that Jessie saw the move as more of an exciting adventure than a big life change. Jessie didn't want to be away from her dad for too long, so she hesitated at first. But her ambition and youthful dreams won out. She kept her decision to move a secret from Gary because she was afraid of disappointing him. She knew he would be against it. Even when they spent their last Christmas together, she didn't tell him about her plans. Mr. Bardwell didn't notice anything different about his daughter's behavior. She seemed just as happy and carefree as usual, laughing and joking around. So, at 24 years old, Jessie found herself in Richardson, a suburb of Dallas. Jason worked from home while Jessie looked for a job and checked out places for her future salon. The couple had plans to get married and buy a house together. But Jessie's relationship with her father changed a lot. They started growing distant, and Jessie stopped answering his calls. Mr. Bardwell was worried because this wasn't like her at all. After talking to Kimberly, he found out about Jessie's new boyfriend and her move to another state. The man accepted the news and tried to reach out to Jessie, but he found out that Jason controlled all the communication channels. The only way to talk to Jessie was through Jason or their land phone. Every time he tried, Jason would say she'd call back later. Eventually, Jessie did get in touch with her father. Months later, Gary finally met Jason face to face when the couple visited Pascagoula. Gary felt uneasy about Jason, but he tried to convince Jessie not to return to Texas. Jessie hugged her father tighter than usual, and when Gary asked if everything was all right, Jessie assured him it was fine. She expressed her desire to make her parents proud by achieving her dreams, persuading Gary to support her decision. Despite Jessie's reassurances, Gary couldn't shake off his unease after meeting Jason. He sensed something wasn't right, so he channeled his emotions into writing a heartfelt song titled "Taken," dedicated to his daughter. 4 months after moving to Texas, Jessie suddenly stopped answering calls from her family and limited that relationship. The situation became even more worrying when she didn't wish her mother and stepmother a happy Mother's Day on May 8th. This was very unlike her, and Gary couldn't shake off the feeling that something terrible had happened, especially since she missed such an important family holiday. When Gary called Jason, he claimed he didn't know where Jessie was. Jason mentioned they had an open relationship, but Gary knew that wasn't true. He sensed Jason was controlling and jealous, always keeping tabs on Jessie's every move. Now here is the twist. The next morning, Gary headed to Texas, convinced that Jessie's boyfriend was involved in her disappearance. Along the way, he messaged Love, but found no trace of his daughter or her belongings. Despite this, the boyfriend insisted he didn't know where Jessie was and was waiting for her to return. Later, Kimberly shared some details with Gary. During their rare, kind-hearted talks, Jessie revealed to Gary that Jason spent money on drugs and partying instead of helping her achieve her dreams. His promise to support her disappeared. Jessie also disclosed that Jason pretended to be someone he wasn't, even in public, which hurt her deeply. Their relationship seemed fine on the surface, but in private, Jason was often rude and aggressive, causing frequent conflicts between them. Jessie would often be absent from the house. Concerned for his daughter's safety, Gary filed a missing person report with the Richardson authorities. Detective Hiram Hale, a father of 3 daughters, took charge of the investigation into Jessie's disappearance. He was determined to find out the truth. Law enforcement officials acted quickly, speaking with Jason Lowe several times and searching his house, but they found no trace of Jessie. During their conversations, Jason mentioned he last saw her on May 8th, leaving without explanation, possibly to visit her parents. He claimed their relationship was non-committal and denied controlling her, but investigators received information contradicting his statements. It was discovered that Jessie had sold her car 3 weeks earlier, a fact Jason must have known since he was present at the sale. This raised suspicions, prompting further interrogation of Jason. During a subsequent search of his home, police found cocaine near Jason. The investigation then focused on Jason's garage, where they found his mud-splattered Audi with a detached bumper. Although Jessie wasn't inside, the smell of decomposition intensified. Bloodstains were found in the trunk, confirmed to belong to Jessie. Jason claimed he got stuck in the mud while searching for Jessie, catching the bumper on a bush. He maintained he didn't know where she was and couldn't explain the blood in the car or the presence of controlled substances in his home. Experts concluded that the amount of blood in the trunk indicated Jessie was deceased. The case was reclassified as a homicide, and Jason was detained on charges related to narcotics. During interrogation, Jason persisted in denying any involvement. A year passed with Jessie still missing. Gary, devastated by his daughter's disappearance, longed for justice. Investigation officers came across a piece of metal covering something, accompanied by an unbearable smell of decay nearby. As they approached, they found a female body wrapped in a blue sheet, covered with a blanket, and 2 red-gold towels stained with blood. A pile of trash mixed with dirt served as an improvised grave for the unfortunate victim. It was clear that the perpetrator was an amateur, as their attempt to hide the body only made it more noticeable. The condition of the body was terrible after a week under the scorching sun, leading to significant decomposition. It took experts 7 days to officially identify the victim. Dental records of the presumed victim, 27-year-old Jessie Bardwell, were requested as the investigation progressed. Jason was eventually charged with homicide, but during the trial, he maintained his innocence. Despite the absence of a body, Jason was found guilty and sentenced to 50 years in prison. Gary, along with Jason's ex-girlfriends, stood by, hoping for closure. But even after the verdict, Jason denied his guilt. Jessie's tragic fate exposed the dark side of Jason Lowe, a man who deceived and betrayed her. Gary realized too late the deceitful nature of some men, contrasting sharply with the integrity and care he always showed his daughter. What do you think about this case? Stay tuned. We'll catch you with a new nail-biting crime thriller tomorrow.